So I want to just start by really honoring the miracle, the many, many miracles that has brought, look at this group of freaking people. Look around you. Look at the person next to you. Look down your row. First of all, we're freaking hot. I mean, do we have to send pictures in to apply for A-Fest? How's this work? God. But really, just really honoring the miracles that's brought this group all here together in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's a real miracle, and there's no coincidence going on here. This is incredible. So I want to start by really talking about the title of my talk. How did it get to be this way? What way? What do you mean? What way am I talking about? I mean, humanity's done so many great things, from music to architecture to art. I mean, there's just so many incredible things going on. I mean, even things like Facebook, we could stay in touch with everyone we've ever known. People, our friends from nursery school, or we could fly across the world and we could visit new places and visit friends in other countries. It's really incredible. But there's something, as I sit in my little jungle existence off the grid, I look out and I think, how are we doing what we're doing to this incredible, magical world? How are we destroying her like this and continuing to do it? How do we treat animals this way? And drive them in, continue to drive them into extinction. Right now, as we sit here in Puerto Vallarta, we're making animals, these incredible things that have taken millions of years to come about, and we're driving them to extinction. Our rivers are polluted, our water supply, our food is poisoned. I mean, the freaking icebergs are melting. Our oceans are rising. They're going to flood our cities. Wait a minute. I don't want to come here and talk about all these terrible problems. I want to focus on solutions, and my goal here is to inspire you and to hack the way... I just added that. and truly hack the way we're living. The next bit of the title is recreating our cities and towns. It sounds like this developers marketing. Hey, we're going to redevelop our cities and towns. Join me, www. It sounds like, what does that mean, recreating our cities and towns? Do we really have a say in the way our cities and towns are? Or is it just... we come in, we're born, and things are that way, and then we just do what we do, and then we die, and slowly they morph a little bit. But I think we do. I think we actually can drastically change the way these things are set up. And then the last word in this title, intention. A lot of us have been talking about intention, right? So I actually went and I looked it up in the dictionary, and it said it's the determination to make things a certain way. It's pretty simple, right? The determination to make things a certain way. Now, when I kind of take that in and think about it, what I think about is we're here, we have to set our goals. How can we figure out how we can go from here to there most directly without zigzagging? And sometimes we zigzag through these macro decisions, like who our lifelong partner is. Like sometimes people get married to someone they don't even like, and they stay married their entire lives, or work at a job that they hate and has absolutely no meaning. Crazy. The next interesting definition I saw of intention was a holy and pious offering. Pious? Is that how you say that word? Yeah, holy and pious offering. You go to your church, or you go to Mecca, or you go to the temple or you go to temple and you leave this offering, and that's your intention. So what that really made me really think about was that brings the sacredness into our life's design. And it's this crossroads where we merge the physical and the spiritual design of our life. The physical meaning what we do, our friends, our work, where we live, with the spiritual. What do we want our life to be? What do we want that to mean? So I want to take a moment. For a living, one of my main kind of jobs that I do is I help people design their land. And the first question I'll ask is, where would you like to see your land in a year, or in 5 years, or in 10 years? Do we have any life coaches out here? Raise your hand if you're a life coach. Good amount of you. So it's probably something you ask your clients a lot. Where do you want to be in a year, or in 10 years, 20 years? What do you want your life to become? This is a common theme that we think about. So this is trying to stay on course. The sooner we know where we're going, the more directly we could go there. So let's take a moment. Let's take a moment right now at our seat in A-Fest. What, on a micro intentional scale, what do we want to get out of this weekend? You're going to come to something like A-Fest. It's an investment of time and money and everything. What do we want to get out of it? What do we want to get out of this year? What do we want to see to happen this year? what do we want people to say about us after we're gone? So let's take a moment. Let's take a deep breath. I'm not quite like Emily, not quite as pretty, but let's take a deep breath, close our eyes, and collectively think about that. Let's think about our intention. Think about what we're trying to do. All right, everybody clear? We know what we're doing? All right, let's go. We're done. Thank you. So we think there's so much talk, especially this weekend in conferences like this, we talk so much about our spiritual awakening. You know, what can we do to bring on this spiritual awakening? So what I want to talk about today is kind of the flip side of that, but the physical awakening. The physical awakening of where's our food coming from and how is it being produced? Where's our water coming from? And where does it go when it gets dirty? How is the place where we live set up? And can we, as humanity, do it any differently? I think we can. A few years ago, I was in Bali, and I first met Vishen. Hey, Vishen. First met him there just by chance, some friends of friends, and we met there, and I first heard about Mind Valley. And then a couple weeks later, I was in Kuala Lumpur, and I got to meet a bunch of the Mind Valley crew, and I was totally impressed. Let's give it up for Mind Valley. Incredible. Yeah, it's so incredible. So what I see Mind Valley doing is they're taking these teachings and these important lessons, and they're spreading them to absolutely millions and millions of people. That's some freaking damn good work. And then Vishen actually came to visit me where I live, and I remember saying to him, so impressed with what you're doing. I love your work. And, you know, I was thinking, like, how can I work together with you in really trying to spread physical awakenings? And then I looked at him and I said, Vishen, where are all these people going to live once they become enlightened? What are they going to drink? How are they going to get around? Can we really be enlightened and still live the way we are? I don't think so. I really don't think so. So now I want to take you on a little journey into my life, into my mind, a little bit to kind of take you on my path of physical awakening. Boom. This is where I grew up. I grew up in North Miami, Florida, the suburbs, your typical American gated community, and it was amazing. I loved it. I lived on a canal 1 block away from the bay, so I spent a lot of time on the water. All my best friends lived right in my neighborhood. The thing that really, gets me thinking now that I've traveled a lot is how safe it was. I could play in the street. I never had to wear, can't take that for granted. A lot of people live in places where it's not safe. So that's really important. Again, something didn't feel quite right about my neighborhood. The design. It's the first mention of that word. I'm going to talk about that a lot. The design, anytime I wanted to go and buy something, I had to drive 5 to 7 minutes in a car to go and buy something. It's pretty shitty design, huh? You need to use gas and drive or bike and take 45 minutes. So that was the first thing that I noticed. The other thing that I noticed is that there was a real lack of a sense of community, a place where neighbors really cared about each other. And I look back on it, and I barely even knew my neighbors. I barely even knew them. Bless you. I barely knew my neighbors, and at the time, I didn't even know that it even really mattered. So in 1994, I went and I did a semester in Spain, in Sevilla, Spain, and I lived with an elderly woman that I called mi abuela, my grandmother. And she was amazing. We lived in this building. That was our building. And it was one of 10 buildings just like it. And the downstairs of all these buildings was commercial. So we had restaurants and bars. We had meat shops and game rooms and anything you ever needed. And on either side of these 10 buildings was a very busy street. But you never need to step foot on that street because you could walk through one lobby to the next, through a courtyard that had trees and benches where the teenagers would make out because they couldn't take them home because it's a very Catholic country. And the elderly people would sit around arguing about the way things were. And the other thing that I felt was my abuela, there were always people dropping their kids off for her to take care of. And I was like, abuela, ¿quién es esto? Es como una prima, es como una prima. I was like, everybody was like a cousin, you know? And I would walk through the little courtyard, and I felt like I was in Sesame Street or something. It was so weird. And what I realized was that the sheer design of this area fostered community. Now, the next thing that got me really thinking about this, about Spain, one of the greatest design elements in the history of the world, what could I be? The siesta. Let's hear it for siestas. Amazing. Every day from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody goes home, has lunch with their families, drinks wine, and then takes a nap. And then they go back to work 3 hours later. I mean, that is freaking good design. I really appreciate that. So my wheels really started thinking, wow, it's not just about the physical setup of our community, but there's also this invisible setup that makes our communities thrive. All right, this has been kind of joyous. Now I'm going to show you guys a short video. You guys and ladies. My wife's grandmother said, don't call people guys, I'm a lady. So I want you to watch this video, and I don't only want you to watch this video, but I want you to feel it. I want you to really feel what you're about to see. So check it out. So shortly after my trip to Spain, I traveled to Costa Rica, and I witnessed a playground full of indigenous children get sprayed by a Chiquita banana crop duster with neurotoxic chemicals. And it's still happening every day. Right now, as we sit here, they're doing it. How could this be happening? How could we be doing this in this day and age? We could zip around the world in jets. We can video chat with our friends on our iPhones. We're spraying these beautiful, incredible indigenous people with toxic chemicals. So I kept driving, and I was driving through the plantation, and there was this cable thing that came down, and the bananas were going by my car, and I'm just like, I'm sitting in this little air-conditioned rent-a-car with my pretty girlfriend, and the bananas just, and before I know it, there's a guy at the end of like 20 or 30 bunches, and he's hanging there from the cable, and he stops in front of my car, and he stares at me, and we stare at each other for about 15 seconds. And it was that 15 seconds, but it felt like 15,000 years that I got catapulted into the ethers. And I'm looking down at the earth, and it's blue and green glory and magic. And then I saw all of these big macro problems, and they all seemed so simple. They all just seemed like a question of design. So first thing I did, I knew I was going to dedicate my life to figuring out a new way to design things. Whoa, I have to speed up. And I started bringing high school students down to Costa Rica, high school and college students, with the goal to show them how beautiful Costa Rica was, the rainforest and the beaches and the people. But then I wanted to show the reality of the rainforest destruction, the reality of the cultural decimation of the indigenous people, the reality of the agricultural macro companies that were just destroying all beauty in their path. And then I wanted to show solutions. And that's where the Punta Mona Center for Sustainable, we changed the name, we got rid of sustainable, the Regenerative Design and Botanical Studies. Sustainable is not good enough. We got to do more. We got to regenerate. So it's located off the grid. You got to take a boat. Off the grid means you got to take a boat, either 25 minutes along the coast or hike 2 hours to get there. For a suburban kid from Miami living off the grid, it was a big challenge. We had to build buildings, so we started building our homes from fallen trees that were found right on our land that we milled there in the forest. We had to think about water. We put roof catchment on. We started catching our rainwater, and we dug a well by hand and with a hand pump for the drier times. We needed electricity. We set up a whole, solar panels, and we needed to grow food, and that's where I really got hooked. I got totally and completely obsessed with food and growing plants, useful plants. And I started traveling around the world from Borneo, deep forests of Borneo, to 10, 12 hours up the Amazon River looking for plants that would improve life, and then bring them back to Costa Rica, plant them, and then spread them to my neighbors and improve their lives. And I'm pretty sure at Punta Mona we have one of the largest collections of useful plants in the world. It's pretty amazing. Big, yeah. It's pretty good. Wait, don't clap too much because I'm running out of time. Sorry. So at Punta Mona, I started learning a lot, and it was getting really exciting, and I started to really tap into our food system, how broken it was, how far away our food is coming from, laden with chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, and using so many fossil fuels to move it around. And then I started thinking, can we actually live where our food is grown? Why is it that we live all stacked up in places, and then our food comes in from far away? Does it really need to be that way? Can we do any better, humanity? And so I started really thinking about this, and it was this time that I first heard the word permaculture. Anybody ever hear that word? Nice. It comes from two words. Which two? Is that a word? Permanent culture. That's what we're trying to create. So it was a term coined by a guy named Bill Mollison. And Bill Mollison and his student David Holmgren, it was an ecological and intentional design for human settlements. Great, right? So permaculture became a real driver for me. And one of the main things is, how can we design our reality to maximize hammock time? Now you can clap for a second. That's good. That's good. So things went on, and I love Punta Mona, but I knew it wasn't the place I was going to live long term. I want to raise my family. It's very remote. The weather was harsh. So I started seeking land, and I started listing all the things that I wanted in my community of my dreams with no limits. I want to be within an hour of San Jose. I want to have a crystal clear river that I can lay naked on a big hot rock and then roll into a crystal clear pool and drink the water. I want to be between 450 meters and 750 meters because I want cool nights, and I want a climate where I can grow all the tropical fruits I'm freaking obsessed with. So I'm listing all these things on paper. And not necessarily you're going to hit them all, but list your dreams. I mean, this is like with anything, looking for land or a partner or anything. Your dream job, list the things you want so you'll find them. So with Lycovia, we found the land. It's on the most incredible river. At this time, my dad was 35 years of being a dentist, was retiring, and we decided together to raise the money. We bought the land, and the first thing we did was planted hundreds of fruit trees. We had to think about water. We went with this old guy with these dowsing sticks, and he's walking through the land, and he's like, aquí está el agua. And there, of course, there was an underground river, and we tapped into it with a deep well and built huge storage tanks at the top of our property, distributed through the land. And we had to lay roads. We didn't want to do asphalt or cement. We found this company that was making recycled plastic grates, so that's what makes our roads. The communal areas, which is mostly the most beautiful area, we took the most beautiful area and made it communal, which mostly real estate developers make that, the premium lots. And we had to think about our children. I always said, I don't want to have children until I know where I'm going to build their school. And now I know. And the school is open. We have over 20 kids in it. We sold lots to people from over 24 countries. The community is freaking thriving. You pull into the gate, and you literally, people's eyes well up with tears. They feel like they just traveled deep back into some dream that they've had before. So all this is going on, and it's perfect. I'm going to backtrack to two. Meanwhile, it got expensive because we raised this money, and we needed to pay back our investors. So it was becoming more expensive than a lot of the people that I knew were going to be able to afford. So I was at Burning Man. Anybody hear that? 2006. I used to organize a really big camp, 250 people. And it was 2006. We were so tired. It's a week later. I'm in some stupid storage unit in Reno, and I look around. What in the hell are we doing, you guys? We've just spent so much money. We've spent so much energy creating this camp, and now we're going to take it down and pack it up. So I organized 33 families, and we bought the land up the street from Ecovia, and we started another community. This time it was a little different. Rather than, we set it up, Ecovia, and then we sold lots. This one, we bought the land together. It was more of an intentional community. And then slowly, we're doing the infrastructure. The next thing that I started to do was I owned this property for many years near the Arenal volcano. And Arenal volcano is one of the most touristed areas in Costa Rica. And I owned this land, and I broke it up, and I started self-financing lots to this growing community of middle-class Costa Ricans that had great jobs. They were yoga teachers and chefs and tour guides. And I basically had no money down and very low interest. And all of a sudden, I had all these people coming to me crying, wow, thank you, Stephen. I never thought at this age I'd be able to own my own land. And it was a total win-win, because for me it worked. I was just sitting on the land, trying to, maintain it. Meanwhile, I have all these amazing people living there now. And again, These are 3 different communities, all with 3 different structures. You might be wondering, great, Stephen, great projects. Okay, how does this pertain to me? So I'm going to give you guys just a few little pointers on where you could take this to start your community of your dreams. 1, think about where you want to live. Where's the land? Do you want to live in the city? Do you want to live in the country? Do you want to live by a river? Do you want to live in another country? Write it down. Think big. Do you want to be by a crystal clear river? Then you want to think about who do you want to live with. It's not necessarily your best friends. You want to really create the right group of people. You need builders, and you need plumbers, and you need visionaries, and you need all the different things that's going to pull off a community. The next thing you want to think, this is also Ecovia. This is my lot on Ecovia. The next thing you need to think about is the invisible structure. How are you going to make decisions? How are you going to set it up legally? And how long are you going to incorporate siestas into your community? Maybe you want a 3-day work week. Maybe you want to have full moon ritual. What is going to be the spiritual glue of your community? These are all things you need to write them down and figure them out. Oof, sorry. So here I was. All this is going on. It all feels great. And I go to dinner with a friend of mine's dad, who I'd never met. And he's a really successful guy. And I was excited to meet him. And I started telling him about I had all these ideas, and I want to change the world, and I want to do so much. And he looked at me and goes, Stephen, his tone changed. And he looked at me and goes, Stephen, I own nearly 200,000 acres in Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico. I own another 1,000 acres in strip malls. I own 11 Sheratons and 6 Marriotts. But Stephen, who gives a fuck? What are they going to say after I'm gone? Oh, Jerry, what a great real estate developer you were. And then he looked at me deep in my soul. He looked at me and goes, Stephen, hone in on your legacy. Hone in on your legacy. And next thing I know, I'm spinning through my mind. What in the hell do I want to do? And I hit the negative sign on the Google Maps of my life, and I'm thinking about everything. And I start thinking about why I first moved to Costa Rica and those plantation workers. So now the next thing in the community saga of my life, I just started another community. It's called Alegria. It's on 400 acres, and this time it's focused on plantation workers. And it's an agricultural cooperative on over 400 acres where our main crop is cacao. It's going to be one of the first tree-to-bar cacao farms where the factory is going to be right there on the farm, and we're going to grow the cacao, the sugar, and all the inclusions right there on site. Yeah. And these workers are part owners of the company. So they've just gone from living in hell, in toxic chemical hell, to now they're part owners of the company. And we're going to give them their lot. And we're going to build them a free prefab bamboo home. And they're going to be partners in our land. And we're going to plant thousands. We're planting thousands of native trees, which is another amazing business because we're starting this by investors. So we had to think about our investors. We're planting, 150 acres of native hardwoods, which in the end we leave a native forest, but it's an incredible business. We're also creating an ecotourism element that basically think Willy Wonka meets the biggest botanical collection on earth, meets the most coolest eco lodge on a crystal clear river in rolling green jungle hills with food growing all around it. Wow, my time is up. The time is now, my friends. The time is now, my friends. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We can no longer live separately from where our food comes from. We need to live where righteousness and sustainability is more important than profits for big companies. A place where our kids and our grandchildren and our grandparents can age gracefully right alongside each other in the most thriving and amazing community. Things are the way they are, but they don't need to be this way any longer. Thank you so much, A-Fest.